So, welcome to this second lecture on communication networks. So, last time we did talk about the bus hierarchy, the different physical characteristic and structural characteristics of the bus-based system. So, today we are going to talk about the bus protocols. So, we know that there is a device which is going to control the bus because control mechanism has to be there and a protocol has to be there. So, generally, this logic can either be a peripheral bus or there can be a packet network approach for the communication. So two types of protocols are there, either the peripheral bus or it is a packet network. Okay. When I say it is a peripheral bus, so it is, as I told you, the AMBA APP, the way it works, it is going to work in a similar way. So depending upon whether it is going to have the multiple masters or single master, it may or may not require the arbitration, but uh, master can be configured as a slave and that can be vice versa. And so those flexibilities, though they are there, but still it's not very efficient because at a time only a single transaction it takes place in the peripheral bus based system. So that is a limiting factor in the peripheral bus based system. The another approach is the packet network approach. Now, packet network approach is used in the NOC. It is not used in the bus communication in the uh, layered bus architecture or in the simple bus architecture. It is not used. So it is made use in the network on chip communication. So here the information from the different masters and slaves, whether intended headers, which include their destination addresses, they are they are framed in the form of packets. Okay. And the communication it is allowed or the information sending by multiple uh, masters is allowed and multiple transactions they take place. So that allows more efficient use of the system. It is more flexible, but at the same time it requires a lot of logic. Just take an insight into that. So this is the kind of the structure which is going to be there. So if there is a message, it is okay. It requires routing also. So these processing elements are the you can say the intended destinations and the sources which are there. So routing and a switching network, it is actually connecting these processing elements. So this is also an example of the NOC architecture, the typical NOC architecture. So each of this would be including a router and there would be a switch. Okay, so whenever a packet is intended to reach any particular destination, just a minute. Okay, so it is routed through the routers for the required destination element. Based on that, the address which is included in its header. Okay, and it is routed. So multiple such messages they can flow through the network. So that allows the complete or the efficient usage. Obviously, it requires more bandwidth, but it reduces the latency. It helps improve the speed of the system and the performance of the system significantly. Okay, so even the throughput also that is increased because though the bandwidth has increased, but that bandwidth is being used efficiently. So there are more of information which is exchanged per unit time. So that is why throughput also it increases using the packet based approach. Coming to the bus components, typically in a bus based system, there are five components. There is an initiator, there is a target, master, slave, and arbiter. So, this is the figure which is showing here uh, components. So, initiator is nothing but it is a virtual component that initiates the transactions. It is the device and the address. So, it is going to define the device and the address it wishes to access or send the request for data exchange or sending the information, and its request has to be granted access from the bus arbiter. So bus arbiter is the component which is actually taking care of that which initiator is going to take control of the bus, and at a time only one transaction is being allowed on the bus. Okay. So any error which is occurring or any clash which is collision which is occurring, that is the responsibility of the arbiter. So target is also a VC that responds to the transaction request. So generally it never initiates the request for the uh, time period of the transaction. Okay. The master and so otherwise master and initiator, they are interchangeable, but you can just say that initiator is the component and master is a kind of interface for that initiator which is going to interact. Okay. Similarly, the slave is the interface for the target. So arbiter, it controls the access to the bus. All the requests, they come to the arbiter first, which then channelizes a request grant and allows the transaction to take place. Okay, so the arbitration schemes, different arbitration schemes, they may be followed. It can be time division multiple access, or it may be a priority based access, or it may be a round robin scheduling. Okay, so different schemes are there. We are not going to discuss that. So it has to decide, the arbiter has to decide which initiator the bus access is granted. This is important, especially in the multiple initiators environment and the multiple transaction environment. It becomes even more complex. Each can initiate the transfer of the data, but if more than one wants to initiate a transfer, it is on the arbiter to decide which one is going to get the access to the bus first. Okay, so this can be done in different ways as I told you, but in the most arbitration schemes, the devices must request the use of the bus. That it is not static priority, is not generally used. It is based either on the time division or it is in the round robin fashion. Okay, so these were the components. So as I told you, we've already discussed. And okay, a bridge is also very important component because bridge is used to connect the two different buses. We have already talked about it. Then we come to the bus attributes. So the important bus attributes are latency, bandwidth, pipelining, uh, and then we have your Indianness, which is there. So we'll just talk about these one by one. So these are the bus attributes. So coming to the latency, it is the time it takes to execute a transaction across the bus. So it has two components. First is the time it takes to access the bus, and once the access is there, time it takes to transfer. So it is measured in the uh, two parts. First, the time to get the access of the bus, and second for the transfer. Okay. So the first one, it is function of the bus protocol and the arbitration scheme, and the second is determined by the size of the packet being transferred. Okay. Next is bandwidth. Bandwidth is the maximum capacity for the data transfer as a function of time. So it is expressed in megabytes per second. So maximum bandwidth of a bus is measured as clock frequency into the byte width of the bus. Okay. Then Indianness, you know about the Little Indian and the uh, Big Indian system, in which how the bytes they are ordered. Okay, so that is very important. Before the communication, that has to be pre-decided and it has to be communicated between the master and the slave. Next is the pipelining. You know, pipelining, it helps speed up the data transfer. So you can see here. So these are the five requested uh, packets you can see of the information. So this is, you can see, a time scale. So on the time scale, if we see there, each of this is in a different stage. So this is reflecting the stage. So first the data packet A requests, then the request is granted, and then B it gets the grant, then there is a initiation. So at different time you can see different packets, they are in the different phases. So they are each time on every signal, on every you can say phase, there is one packet which is working. So we all know about pipelining. So it is that. So it is efficiently making use of the transfer. Okay, data transfer. Definitely it adds to the speed of the data transfer. Okay, so these were the attributes which we had just discussed: latency, bandwidth, endiness, and the pipelining, or whether it is a non-pipeline system. Now we come to its network on chip. So as the complexity of the system on chip increased, so these simple APB buses, they were insufficient for the large SoCs, and even the bandwidth, it was not scalable with the system complexity. Even in the terms of the physical implementation, the scaling was not didn't go well with the complexity of the system. So there was a need for a more complex, you can say, or a wider network in which there was more of bandwidth, lesser of bottlenecks, and multiple transactions they were allowed. So that was required, and that gave rise to network on chip. Okay, so there was a transition of system on chip to network on chip for communication. So the system bus, which was using the shared bus, that was not giving any long-term solution because of its poor scalability. So that made the designer switch to a better form. So this shows that this is your typical shared bus. This is point to point communication, and here it is a network which is there, which obviously requires routing, which requires scheduling, which requires prioritizing. So lot many complexities were added, but then it came with a lot good, uh, big set of advantages also. So if we want to see the structure of this, we just have to revisit the slide which we had seen for the packet uh, based protocol. So that is implemented in the network architecture only. So that was one way in which all the components, they are aligned in a network, and these are connected by routers and switches. So the packets, they are routed using these routers and switches from target to the destination. Okay, so that allows multiple transactions to be taken place. So advantages, definitely it is a structured architecture which lowers the complexity and the cost overall in the long term, not in comparison to only the bus architecture. So it allows reuse of components and architectures because it is a standardized interface, standardized protocols are there. So that allows reusing. So it is giving you the efficient and high performance interconnect structure, and makes the system more scalable with the increasing complexity. But at the same time, disadvantages are internal network contentions may be there depending upon if what are the communicating ends on the communicating components, which may cause latency. Then bus oriented IPs, they need a wrapping interface. So the reusable IPs, because initially SoCs, they were designed with bus architecture only. So the systems which are still compliant with the bus architecture, they need the wrappers, which adds to the cost. And moreover, the software has a big responsibility of maintaining the arbitration and the synchronization, especially in a multiprocessor system. So comparing the NOC with the bus communication, so these are the brief comparisons. The ones in blue, they show the advantages, and the one in the red, they show the disadvantages. So clearly we can see that NOC is an aggressive communication network, and even it is bidirectional in nature. So bidirectional NOCs are already in implementation, which still give a higher level of flexibility. So they are much more flexible, and they help increase the system throughput, lower the latency, and help attain the significant improvement in the performance. Okay, so concurrency is there, pipelining is used. So those things, they are adding to the advantages of NOC, and they are the preferred way of communication in the complex SOCs. So with this we end our lecture on communication networks in NOC. Thank you so much.